Very good. As we have a quorum, I will call to order the meeting of the Port Authority for the City of St. Louis, as well as this public hearing on Port Improvement District Number 1, held on March 14, 2024. Appropriate as it seems to be Pi Day or STL Day, as is your preference. May we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Seymour,
Here.
Commissioner Mason,
Present.
Commissioner Miller,
Here.
Chair McBride.
Present. We're going to take up the approval of the minutes for a meeting held on February 8, 2024, and our meeting held on February 12, 2024. Their motion to approve the minutes for those meetings.
So moved. Second.
Been properly moved and seconded. May we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Seymour,
I can only vote for the first one.
Okay, then I will move to uncouple those.
Yes, thank you.
At this time, I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes held on February 8, 2024.
I second it.
Okay, it's been moved by Commissioner Miller, seconded by Commissioner Seymour. Maybe a roll call vote on the minutes of meeting held on February 8, 2024.
Commissioner Seymour,
Yes. Yeah.
Commissioner Mason,
I was absent for that meeting. Can I still vote for that?
Under Robert's rules, a commissioner can still vote for approval of the minutes as long as they've reviewed the minutes, yes.
I've reviewed them.
And that's an aye on your behalf, Commissioner Mason.
Yes. I said aye.
Thank you. I may have been talking over you. I apologize. Thank you.
Okay, no problem.
Commissioner Miller,
Aye.
Chair McBride.
Aye. And the minutes for the February 8, 2024 regular board meeting are approved. At this time, I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes for the special board meeting held on February 12, 2024.
So moved. Second.
Probably moved and seconded. Move a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Seymour,
Can I abstain? Because,
You can always abstain.
okay, all right. I mean, would that still pass? We will have the majority here. Okay,
You're the first to go, so it's a mystery, but you can always abstain.
okay. Thank you.
Can we continue with the roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Mason,
Aye.
Commissioner Miller,
Aye.
Chair McBride.
Aye. And the motion passes and the February 12, 2024 minutes are approved. At this time, we'll take up a public hearing on the creation of City of St. Louis Port Improvement District Number 1. Susan, are you going to walk us through that? I understand that if we have any citizens that we're going to have the public comment for this portion of the public hearing, we're going to limit that public comment to 3 minutes per speaker. And we're going to get the introduction prior to that point. But if you could give us a little overview and walk us through that, please.
Sure. Good morning, everyone. As most of you know, the soccer team encountered some underground water issues during the construction of the stadium. And they addressed all those at their expense. And going forward, they will have to continue to maintain the improvements they needed to make to deal with that underwater issue. And so they would like to establish a port improvement district, which would allow them to initiate a tax, 1% sales tax. I believe representatives from the team are here to address the commission. Would the commission like to hear from the team about the project and the need for the tax?
Yeah, if you could give us an overview of the issue. I understand from previous meetings it's fairly significant, and we can just give us a brief review of this, since I think we have gone through this process and then it stopped at a certain
Right.
point. So absolutely. And then if they could give us any updates on what's been done since then, that would be much appreciated.
So Jason or Bill, which would one of you like to speak?
I'd be happy to. Chair McBride and commissioners, good morning, and thank you very much for having us this morning. As was just mentioned, during the construction process, while digging for the main bowl, for the main seating bowl, the construction team dug through some limestone, which is underneath the city of St. Louis are a lot of caves, and because of the limestone and the way the water has worn through it. Anyway, we dug through some limestone and water came out. We hit a spring and it came out at about 82 gallons a minute. And that varies. And 82 gallons a minute, just to put that in perspective, is like 118,000 gallons a day. So, you can do the math, and that's very significant. I think right now it's actually about 190,000 gallons a day. That spring, if you were sitting in the stadium, it would be in the lower bowl at about the 20-yard line on the north side, the north and east side of the stadium. As a matter of fact, if you go to, I could show you a seat where the spring actually is. There is a cement lid, and then we lift that up, you would see water coming out. And so when we hit the water, we had to have engineers come in and design a system to collect the water and pump it out of the stadium. During that process, the water was tested, and downtown St. Louis, I think every parcel was at one time a dry cleaner, a gas station, or something along those lines. And so, the water table, the underground water is, there was some pollutants and some contaminants in there. And MSD required that we clean that water before it was discharged into the sewer system, which in the city is a joint sanitary and stormwater sewer system. And so the engineers then had to add a system. So not only did the water have to be pumped out, it goes through an oil water separator and an odor mitigation vault before it is then discharged into the MSD system. And so there are many pumps, and there's the cleaning process, and then that's kind of the capital cost of all of it. And then of course there is ongoing yearly. There are MSD fees, which are several $100,000s a year, and then just the cost of monitoring the water discharge, and then periodically cleaning out that oil water separator. And so it was a rather, let's just say it was a big surprise, and a lot of lost sleep on my behalf when we went through that. The system is built to take out quite a bit of water, because periodically, as I said, the water comes and goes. It's pretty steady, at least at 82 gallons a minute. But then things like water main breaks, which we had happen about 3 years ago, the water flow went from 82 gallons a minute to about 400 gallons a minute until the city fixed the water main. And so that kind of thing just kind of happens, and there's just ongoing maintenance as well. Any questions?
So my question was, and I think you answered that you expect this to be an ongoing issue. It is not in perpetuity. So you don't expect that to have a, beginning and an end to the project, huh?
No, the water, like I said, it kind of ebbs and flows, but it never stops, and we don't anticipate it ever stopping. And so this is an ongoing problem.
Okay. In other words, once we add the 1% sales tax, it will stay indefinitely.
That's a different question, but I think and somebody, Bill, you can jump in, but I think this is a 20-year, or is it longer?
40 years.
40.
Mr. Sparkerman says it's 40-year, I believe.
40-year. Okay, I'm sorry, I wasn't, yes, all right, very good. That was really my only question about
Yeah,
the end of this funding. All right.
yeah, and Jason, as I understand it, I mean, this was a spring that was kind of a latent defect that once it was uncovered, then it's just like any other spring. It just connects into a water table and keeps pouring out water. So, and this just happens to be contaminated water because all the karst springs underneath the city proper are all contaminated, and MSD is requiring the team to treat it before it gets put back into the city's water system, which is, I think, appropriate, but also a great expense. And what is that expense right now? Do you know?
Well, the annual, let's see, we just met with MSD yesterday, and I think just the MSD charges, I think it's about $300,000 for the discharge for last year. And then we haven't had to replace the oil water separator. We haven't had to replace the sand or any of that, but that'll happen. But the MSD costs alone are several $100,000.
But my memory is that the separator was multiple millions of dollars. Is that
The entire system? Yeah, the entire system was well over $20 million. I think the request we have is capped in there, but
so the hard costs for the 20 million, and then the recurring costs in the neighborhood of $250,000 a year, let's say.
yeah, at least on the
Okay.
recurring. Yes.
Mr. Chairman, if I can interject. This month-
Please, Mr. Spackerman.
Last month, the board passed a resolution approving a agreement with the team. And that agreement limited the team's recovery through the PID to $12 million in capital costs and $100,000 in operational costs per year. So the team will be, the PID is not paying for the entire project. The team is still coming out of pocket for a significant amount.
Correct. Before we go any further, I do want to still take some comment from the city SDL team. But if there are any participants who wish to, any citizens who wish to make public comment, if you please put your name in the chat, and then we will allot you the 3 minutes to make your public comment. So anyone who wishes to make a public comment, kindly put your name in the chat so we can recognize you. And those at conference room, whichever, at SLDC, is there any in-person participants?
No,
In person? Okay, very good.
No.
All right, well, then let's continue with this. So any other questions from the commissioners for Jason, for Bill, or for Mark Spackerman?
I just want to make sure I'm understanding everything properly. So what you're saying is there is a spring, a lake near the stadium, under the stadium, that's causing problems. And then this 1% tax increase will go to correcting that problem. And you all will be responsible for treating the water, taking out all the impurities, and then sending it back to, I think I heard Chairman McBride say, to a water treatment or to a facility. And if you can just give me a clarification, is that going to the water supplies, that system for our metropolitan area, which is drinking water, or if it's going to another area? So just help me with my understanding to make sure that I'm getting this correct.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to help, Barry. So yes, the spring is physically located underneath the seating of the stadium. The water gets pumped out, remediated, cleaned, and then goes into the main MSD sanitary and stormwater sewer system. And from where it goes from there, I don't know. I assume it goes into just a general, a sewage plant or something along those lines. But in essence, we are literally cleaning millions of gallons of water a year.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
And just so everyone's clear, is this tax for any sales that occur outside the stadium, or is it solely for people who are visiting the stadium itself?
I don't have the map in front of me, but my belief is it's just the stadium and other property owned by the team. So that would be, but really the parking garage next to it and our training facility. But the only real sales occur in the stadium and in the parking garage.
And then in your gift shop, right?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, you're right. And then that's also part of our property. Yes, the gift shop that's across the street. I apologize for overlooking that.
No problem. I experienced that, and I experienced the high price of merch there, so. Hate to pay the 1%, but I guess we have to.
Mr. Keeling, anything to add?
No, I think Jason has summed it up very well.
Very good. Mr. Spikerman, anything you wish to add? You kind of came in to clarify something. I didn't know if you had more that you wanted to give as an overview.
Yeah, the only thing I'd mention is that the PID concept was agreed to by the city back in 2020 as part of the master development agreement for the stadium. It was an option for the team to seek. They did begin seeking it in 2022 as the stormwater issue came to light more. We had to put a pause on that process as there was some replatting going around, and we needed to get a good legal description of the PID boundaries before we could proceed. And that's why we're back at this time, because we do have that good boundary line now.
Yeah, my memory is that we had actually gone through the public comment for the establishment previously, and then there was just, as you indicated, Mr. Spikerman, a hiccup with the legal description. And so an exercise of utmost caution, we are restarting that process so there are no issues down the road. All right, if there are no further questions from the commissioners or no further statements from City St. Louis team, then I will recognize our public comments. Let's see, Janet, can you authorize speaking rights to Mr. Connolly? I believe he got his name in first, and we will hear his public comment for a maximum of 3 minutes.
You can now speak, just need to, yeah. Thank you.
The chair recognizes Mr. Connolly. Please proceed, sir.
Thank you. My name's Jerry Connolly. I'm a resident of the 6th Ward in South City. I did actually attend via Zoom the May 12th, 2022 public hearing. And my understanding is that a lot more detail was given on the nature of the project prior to the opportunity for public comment. I don't think anyone did comment that time. Questions I think the commission should get clarified prior to voting on this today is who will actually serve on this port improvement district. I did look at the petition down at the SLDC office yesterday. It didn't specify who was going to serve. It also didn't specify who the owners were of property within the district. And my understanding from looking at the maps is that the legal description change from 2 years ago includes the addition of a portion of the Aloe Plaza Park. I know some of it was included kind of underneath the steps of the stadium canopy. So my question is, why is the additional land being included? And also just the format of this hearing, that we have very little information to go on to actually comment. I mean, I didn't realize until yesterday that it was possible to request to look at the petition. I'm interested, have you actually, commissioners, have you actually seen and read the petition? One of the things included in that is public comment I made in November 2020 at the Missouri Highway and Transportation Commission. And my full comments are in there in those minutes included in the petition for this district. And basically my comment then was when the Port Authority boundaries were expanded, the Board of Aldermen's hearing by the Transportation Committee did not allow for public comment. And I've got that in writing from then Alderwoman Marlene Davis, who served on this Port Authority Commission at the time. So I believe the Board of Aldermen's own rules and their in the charter were violated. So Board Bill 28 was invalid to create the to expand the Port Authority Commission. And therefore, I think, you know, I question the validity of what we're doing here today based on the fact that the public wasn't given the opportunity to comment on Board Bill 28. The other main issue is Nicole Galloway's audit in 2019. It called upon the city to justify financially the creation of new taxing districts. I believe this is the third district. I don't know if we're now at 2% or 3% additional sales tax. SLDC, I haven't seen any financial analysis in the documents for this meeting justifying the creation of this district. And 2 years ago, at a hearing for the Lighthouse Marina, said SLDC communicated to the Ways and Means Committee that it wasn't involved in the creation of this district, of taxing districts. Well, here we are 2 years later, we have a new taxing district, and the Port Authority is staffed by St. Louis Development Corporation. So which is it? Is SLDC involved in these or not? Today, it looks like very much like they are.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Connolly.
Thank you.
May we, I think Mr. Stokes had also put his name in the chat. May we hear from Mr. Stokes?
Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is David Stokes. I'm Director of Municipal Policy with the Show Me Institute. I'm here to definitely strongly second Mr. Connolly's comments and speak less for a minute or two here, less about the question at hand and more about just the general process here of SLDC. I didn't get enough information ahead of time to properly comment on this specific new taxing district. It may be justified in part, it may not be, but certainly it's part of a highly troubling process of rapidly passing new taxing districts in St. Louis City with sort of the bare minimum, the absolute bare minimum of allowance for public comment. If Mr. Connolly just heard about this hearing yesterday and he follows this stuff more closely than anybody, then there's just SLTC's process in general to do the bare minimum of 24 hours and 1 minute of notice to mail only to property owners. It really limits the ability of the public to get in and have fair input on questions like this. So it actually asks the Port Authority, but also more importantly, SLDC in general, to perhaps, God forbid, go beyond the bare minimum requirements and publish. I went through the minutes that you approved of February's meeting or of January's meeting, and it talked about a public hearing for this, but it never set a date or a time for that. So it makes it very difficult for the public to participate, very difficult for this commission and SLDC staff to get alternate viewpoints, which of course is probably the intention. But I would hope that SLDC would change its habits going forward and do a better job of allowing for public participation. And thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Mr. Stokes. Are there any other individuals who are making public comment?
I don't see anyone in the chat.
Very good. And at this time, Jan, if we could return Mr. Connolly and Mr. Stokes to the participant or the other column. I don't even know what to call it. Attendee section.
Will the commissioners get an opportunity to respond to what the individuals in the public, their concerns?
The commissioners can have further questions. I don't know if we need, what I don't think we need to have is just a back and forth, but there's a further question that you have of the team or the staff that in light of those questions of the public comment, then I think that'd be appropriate.
Okay, well, we don't have to have a, back and forth, but I would like to make a comment on Mr. Stokes' concern about getting notice to the public about coming to the meetings. If someone could answer that for me, I'd appreciate it. And if notice is getting to the public in adequate time, someone then inform me about how much time is given to the public to attend our meetings.
I can address that if you like, Mr. Chairman.
Please, Mr. Sparkman, thank you.
Yeah, the date and time of the public hearing was set forth in the February 8th resolution passed by the Port Authority Commission. It was subsequently, notice of that public hearing was subsequently published. I believe the statute requires between 10 and 15 days prior to the public hearing. And then, of course, it was on the board packets posted on the city website.
So it's not like you send out a mailer to people in the public. If they're interested in city meetings, folks in the public understand that they have to go to the city's website to see what public meetings they can attend. Is that is that what you're saying?
That is correct. The Port Authority statute does not require that the Port Authority send notice to everyone, for instance, within 500 feet of the PID boundaries or anything like that. It just requires the publication notice.
So according to guidelines, you did give the public ample time to respond to these meetings.
Yes.
Is that correct? Okay, thank
We are
you.
in compliance with rules.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Are there other questions from the commissioners?
Just a general comment I have, and I think both the individuals that they spoke, I think they might have some concerns with SLDC policies in general, but I'm not sure how it will be really applicable here, because we know there is a problem and it is present, it is known, and anything we can do to clean up the environment, it is good for us. And yes, and we are responsible to pay for it as citizens of the city, or, users. Really, in this case, a very specific small group of people who would end up paying for it. So from the environmental standpoint, it is the right action to take at this time. That's all.
Thank you, Commissioner Seymour. Any other questions from the commissioners for the city STL or Mr. Sparkman on the Port Improvement District? Hearing none, then the public hearing is now closed. We'll continue with our agenda and take up resolution 24 PT09, approving petition for the formation of City of St. Louis Port Improvement District number 1. Susan, you're going to walk us through that, please.
Yes, the resolution before you is kind of a redo of the one, an earlier one, because there were some changes in the platting, as Mark referred to. Mark, by the way, is our bond counsel. And so we're back to ask for approval to form this improvement district. The Port Commission approves it, and then that's an intermediate step towards the creation of a port improvement district. And Mark, if I could ask you to tell us the subsequent steps for the creation of this improvement district.
Sure. Upon approval of this resolution, the PID petition is finalized. It is filed with the circuit court, and there's a circuit court process. There is an election as well. The election, the only voters are the property owners within the district, similar to CIDs and TDDs in that matter. And then once it's all through the court process, through the election process, the PID then exists. It imposes the 1% sales tax. The Port Commission actually serves as the board of the PID. A little bit different than CIDs and TTDs, where property owners themselves may form that board. You guys will be the actual governing body of the PID.
And the length of the district will be information, Mr. Sparkman?
40 years, yes.
And are there any contingencies, or is that a solid 40?
As I noted earlier, the agreement with the team that was approved last month provided for $12 million in capital recovery and $100,000 a year in operational costs. If if sales taxes exceed expectations, perhaps there's a chance that, that recovery will occur sooner, and that you may want to consider terminating the district at that time.
Very good. And is the what is filed in the circuit court, is that an adversarial hearing, or what's the nature of that? That matter?
It's really an interesting petition. We actually have to serve all taxing districts that have boundaries that overlap the PID, even though they really have no interest because we're not abating or touching any of their taxes. But we will serve everyone from school district to MSD to the library. They'll get a copy of the petition. They'll have the right to file an answer in court, make objections.
Very good. Any questions from the commissioners for Mr. Sparkman on this process? I see no further questions. Anything else to add from Mr. Keeling or Mr. Steen? No. Very good.
Other than to thank you for your time.
Go ahead, Jason.
I just wanted to, again, thank you for your time this morning.
Absolutely. Then at this time, I'd entertain a motion to approve resolution 24 PT09.
So moved.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. At this time, may we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Seymour,
Yay.
Commissioner Mason,
Aye.
Commissioner Miller. Aye. Chair McBride.
Aye. Motion passes and the resolution is approved. Good luck, gentlemen. We appreciate it. Next up is resolution 24 PT10, approving selection of contractor and execution of a contract for demolition services of the South Riverfront Development Project. Susan, are you going to walk us through that?
Yes, on this location is an abandoned 71-year-old brick incinerator. And we came before the commission last month requesting approval to issue an RFP to take the smokestacks down. And we issued the RFP request for price. And we've received bids, and we had convened a selection committee, which is recommending approval of Z&L as the demo contractor. And this is a picture of a smokestack being demolished in another city. But what you see is two platforms dangling from cranes, and there's a horizontal jackhammer that drives into the mortar and pushes, and then reaches over and pushes the bricks into the center. So all the bricks fall inward and into the cavity inside the smokestack. So that's how this project will proceed. And so our request before you then is to authorize us to approve this contract or enter into a contract with Z&L to demolish the two smokestacks at the South Refuse property at 4230 South First Street. That smokestack, that we have two, they're not being maintained. The mortar's popping out. They're brick. We did an environmental assessment. Our engineer did. So we're ready to take them down, and that shouldn't take very long. So that's what's before you is the request to proceed with the demolition.
Thank you, Susan. And can you remind me of the source of the funds for this?
Yes, we have a state grant of $640,000, and we have matching ARPA funds that can match up to 50% of that. So that the contract is not to exceed $299,200. So we have enough cash, and we expect this project to totally be completed by May. So our funding expenditure deadline is mid-June.
Very good. Any questions for Susan by the commissioners?
Susan, can you remind me about how many bids you had for this project?
Yes, we had 5 or 6 firms at the pre-bid walkthrough. 3 of them submitted bids. One of them was submitted past the deadline, so we couldn't accept it for consideration. And so we had 2 bids that were pretty close in price. And our engineer looked at both of them and thought both of them were reasonable bids, and ZNL's was the lowest, most responsive.
Thank you.
Susan, I have one question, and it might be a very small dollar amount relative to the entire project. In any of the bids, did you get any credit for the bricks? Because what I understand is those bricks are very valuable.
The bricks on the inside may or may not be contaminated, given that it was an incinerator. And so, so we don't know what kind of condition they're in, but yes, we are saving the brick. We're just putting it on another location of the site for possible reuse. So yes, the bricks are valuable, but we're not sure at this point how what their reusable qualities might be.
All right, very good.
Any other questions for Susan? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve resolution 24 PT 10.
So moved.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. May we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Seymour,
Yes, aye.
Commissioner Mason,
Aye.
Commissioner Miller,
Aye.
Chair McBride.
Aye. And the motion passes and the resolution is approved. All right, at this time, we're at open agenda. Susan, do you have anything on open agenda? I see we have Mr. Johnson here.
We had asked Colin Wellenkamp, the executive director of Mississippi River Cities and Towns Initiative, to talk to us about the cruise boat industry. Is he on? He said he had a presentation and we don't see him on the screen here. So, other than that.
Is it Chris Johnson with an E?
No.
Last name?
Chris is.
Okay, well, he's not here. So if Mr. Johnson has a report, let's hear from that and see if Mr. Wellenkamp will be joining us afterwards.
Chris is.
I'd be glad to give a little update if you'd like, Susan.
Well, Chris is with Jones Walker, who's our federal lobbyist, and he gives a quarterly report. So this is not the right time for a quarterly report. So if I just assume wait for the quarterly report, which would be during the April meeting. So if Colin is not around, then he's missed his opportunity. The reason we wanted him to talk is American Queen Voyages, as some of you may know, has gone bankrupt. And so it was one of the 3 cruise lines that used to come to St. Louis every summer. And so this summer, American Queen Voyages will not be here. The other 2 cruise lines, American Cruise Lines, that's the name of the company, and Viking are both coming. So we're short the 1 cruise line, and we see somebody in the chat. Oh, raised an error. Okay. So what the 2 remaining cruise lines have assured us that their businesses are in good shape, they're viable, and they are in expansion mode. Viking's talking about building another boat. American Cruise Lines also is building more vessels. So we believe that it's our view that the cruise line industry is healthy. All 3 of those companies are on Colin's advisory board. And so he had some good information about the financial status of the cruise industry. the river cruise industry. But since he's not here, that's my summary of what he may have wanted to say. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Susan. Then at this time, is there anything from the commissioners in the open agenda? Hearing none, our next board meeting is scheduled for Thursday, April 11, 2024 at 9 a.m. This time I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, we are adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.